In this lesson, we are going to look at the ACT Aspire exemplar test items for the English Grade 8 exam. Before we begin, I want to remind you of the items that will be tested on the ACT Aspire English 8. The first thing to keep in mind is that you will be tested over the conventions of standard English, punctuation conventions, usage conventions, sentence structure and formation, the production of writing, topic development, organization, unity and cohesion, and knowledge of language. In the Grade 8 exam, the passage is entitled Ghost Bird. Now, before we begin looking at the questions, I'm going to read the passage to you, and I want you to listen and see if you notice any of the errors just by listening. Not all errors are easy to find by listening, but that is one technique, and the other ones we'll have to find visually by looking at the rules. Ghost Bird. In 1951, 15-year-old David Wingate examined the limestone cliffs of the Bermuda Islands. He was looking for the Bermuda petrel, or the cahao, a seabird once so common that the Bermuda night sky was filled with its eerie cries. The bird, thought to have been extinct for 300 years, had reportedly been spotted twice. Wingate, a bird lover and Bermuda native, had joined a team of naturalists who were hoping to confirm the reports. For days they searched. The team found a cahao chick tucked into a crevice, along with a few other cahao nests. Wingate became focused on saving the cahao. After leaving Bermuda to study zoology at Cornell University in New York, he returned in the late 1950s to search the islands for the bird. He found 18 nesting pairs, most of them fairly healthy, on several remote islets. Though the cahao still existed, Wingate knew that its current breeding habitat, burrows created in fragile limestone cliffs, was threatened by hurricanes, rising sea levels, and erosion. Over a period of years, Wingate, as Bermuda's conservation officer, transformed an elevated, uninhabited, 15-acre Bermuda island that was unpopulated, called Nonsuch, into a haven for this endangered species. He restored native flora and created dozens of sturdy, soil-filled burrows, providing the cahao with safe nesting places. Speakers played pre-recorded cahao calls to attract the first birds. Soon, there were eight pairs of cahaos nesting on Nonsuch Island. Wingate feels, however, that there is no sound more beautiful than the haunting cries of the cahao. The unbelievably reappearing ghost bird, as he calls it, again filling the Bermuda night sky. In 2009, 86 nesting pairs on Nonsuch Island produced dozens of healthy chicks that left their burrows to fly out to sea. Many of these birds returned to Nonsuch to make nests of their own. Okay, first we're going to look at question 7. And if you'll notice, the test is organized so that each of these questions, numbered 7 through 12, correspond to an area that is underlined with the question number. Like this is for the area for question 7. So this is going to be the section that we'll be looking at in order to make the change that could be necessary. Also notice that the answers are marked by a star, so you are already going to know what the correct answer is just by looking at the key, but we are going to eliminate the other 3 wrong answers, just so I can show you how you can come to the conclusion that the answer is correct. Now, when it comes to reading a passage and editing it, there's not always going to be 4 wrong answers. Sometimes it is just that one answer is the best answer. There are times, though, where 3 answers are incorrect and 1 is left correct. So let's look at question 7. For days they searched. The team found a cahao chick tucked into a crevice, along with a few other cahao nests. We're looking at this section. For days they searched. And then notice there is a comma here. Okay. The first choice is no change, so we're going to come back to that one. The second choice is days passed as they searched. Now, what I want you to realize is that this is going to be a question that is going to have 1 correct answer and 3 incorrect answers. So the way we're going to look at this is we're going to look at it as a run-on sentence. Okay, and I'm going to erase what I've written so far. For days they searched. This is a clause. In this case, it's actually an independent clause because it has a subject and a verb which can stand alone. Since it is an independent clause, you have to look behind it to see if there is another independent clause. The team found a cahao chick tucked into a crevice along with a few other cahao nests. I see a subject, team, and a verb, found. So now I know that this is a compound sentence. 2 subjects on each side, 2 verbs on each side. So I have 2 independent clauses. This cannot be a comma. It is either going to have to be a period, new sentence, a semicolon, a comma, conjunction, or we're going to have to put an introductory word at the beginning and then a comma later. So those are going to be my choices. Therefore, I know that no change is incorrect. It has to be changed because it's a run-on sentence. Days passed as they searched. Now, if we changed it to this, notice we're going to have a subject, days, and a verb, passed, which is another independent clause, and this comma would be incorrect. So B cannot work. My next choice is they spent days searching. I have a subject and a verb and a complete thought, which makes it an independent clause. Comma won't work. Choice D, the correct answer, says, after days of searching, the team found a cahao chick tucked into a crevice along with a few other cahao nests. Now notice that I do have a subject and I do have a verb, but it's not a complete subject and it's not a complete verb because I have this introductory word after. Therefore, the comma works. They used this choice as the way to fix it. When you're looking at a run-on sentence, remember that you have 4 choices to fix it. You can make it 2 separate sentences, period, new sentence. You can put a semicolon between the 2 independent clauses, or you can put a comma conjunction, for example, comma and, comma but, comma or. And then the last thing you can do is add an introductory word like after or while, and then a comma after the dependent clause. Therefore, for number 7, the correct answer would be D, and they are correcting this run-on sentence with the introductory phrase at the beginning. Okay, next we're going to look at question 8, and question 8 says, given that all the choices are accurate, which one most clearly emphasizes how close the cahao was to extinction when Wingate began his project? Now, it tells you that all of these choices are grammatically correct. That's not what we're looking for. We are looking for the part of the text that most clearly emphasizes extinction. Okay? So looking over here at number 8 and looking at the underlined portion, it reads, he found 18 nesting pairs, most of them fairly healthy, on several remote islets. This doesn't say anything about extinction. So I'm going to cross that out as an option. It has to be changed. Choice B, some of the pairs having made sturdy nests in the cliffs. That does not mention extinction, so I'm crossing it out. Likely the cahaw's entire breeding population. Now look, choice C mentions population, which has to do with extinction. So let's see why D is incorrect. More cahaw's than he had expected to find. Now that doesn't say anything about extinction either. Therefore, it makes C correct. Now remember, all of these were grammatically correct. That's not what you were looking for. You were looking for the emphasis of extinction. Okay, next we're going to look at question 9. And from reading the passage, I remember that this sentence had many commas, and therefore the sentence was structured incorrectly because of the commas. I noticed that right away. So what we're going to do is we're going to really look at the sentence before we even look at these choices to break it down and make sure that we understand where the commas should have gone. Let me reread it. Over a period of years, Wingate, as Bermuda's conservation officer, transformed an elevated, uninhabited 15-acre Bermuda island that was unpopulated, called Nonesuch, into a haven for this endangered species. Okay, the first thing I notice is that at the beginning of my sentence, I have an introductory phrase which begins, over a period of years. So I need a comma right there. If I'm over here looking at my choices, since I know I need a comma, I know A is incorrect. It has to be changed. Choice B gives me the choice of a comma. Choice D does not. So I'm going to eliminate D right now. I see that it's not going to work. And then let me read on and check the other commas. Over a period of years, Wingate, as Bermuda's conservation officer. Now there's a problem here. This comma does not need to be here because it's not saying Bermuda, Alabama. It's not a city-state situation. Therefore, this comma doesn't need to be there. So I'm going to read it with that comma out of the context. Over a period of years, Wingate, as a Bermuda conservation officer, transformed. Now this comma belongs, and so does this one, because this phrase is restating Wingate, and it is going to have a comma before and after it. So both of those commas are correct. I'm just going to erase my board here and show you where my commas are. This one is correct. This one goes away. This one is correct. And this one is correct. Okay, looking over here at my choices, let's see what I can decide if I can eliminate C yet. Years, comma, Wingate, comma, as Bermuda's conservation officer. Okay, remember I told you this one was necessary? This choice doesn't give that comma there, but this one does. Therefore, making choice B your correct answer. And I know that was a little confusing because this sentence actually ran into your question number 10. This part wasn't necessary yet. You were really only looking at this portion. So now it's correct. Number 9 is B. You needed a comma after your introductory phrase. and then after this phrase which restates Wingate. Okay, now we're looking at number 10, and number 10 is a little bit more complicated because 9 and 10 were within the same sentence. It was different errors. Number 9 was a comma error, and number 10 is a word choice error. So let's read the whole sentence and see if we can figure out what's wrong with number 10. Over a period of years, Wingate, as Bermuda's conservation officer, transformed an elevated, uninhabited 15-acre Bermuda island that was unpopulated, called Nonesuch, into a haven for this endangered species. Now, we're looking at number 10, and my choices are A, no change, B, area of Bermuda that was relatively high up, C, place that was soon to be a haven, D, Bermuda Island. Those are my choices. So I'm going to read just this part, this small portion, putting these 3 choices in to see which one sounds the best, first of all, and then we're going to look at why the one sounds the best. Uninhabited 15-acre area of Bermuda that was relatively high up. Now, this part really is not necessary, the relatively high up, because that doesn't have anything to do with what the context of the story is. So we're going to get rid of that one. My next choice, uninhabited 15-acre place that was soon to be a haven. That takes away the meaning of Bermuda, so I'm crossing that one out. If you were unsure about why I crossed those 2 out, I want to show you something about why this one would be more correct. Uninhabited, I want you to think about that word. 15-acre Bermuda island called Nonesuch. Now, if I get rid of this little phrase, or clause actually, that is being suggested in choice D, notice that I got rid of the word unpopulated. By saying unpopulated, I am repeating myself because right here it already says uninhabited. So this clause was unnecessary. It should read, uninhabited 15-acre Bermuda island called Nonesuch, therefore making choice D the correct answer. Okay, in question number 11, it is asking us to look at the word choice and decide which fits best in the sentence. And we're looking at however, therefore, likewise, or no word at all. Now I'm going to read it with all of the choices in and then come back and discuss each one. Wingate feels, however, that there is no sound more beautiful than the haunting cries of the cahao. And I'm going to stop my sentence there every time because that's a good stopping point. Notice that this is the beginning of a paragraph. In the very first sentence of a paragraph, we have the phrase however in relationship to Wingate. Well, there's nothing to compare it to. There's not a cause and effect. Therefore, this term however doesn't fit here very well. So I am going to cross out the no change. It definitely needs to be changed. All right, my next choice for choice B is therefore. Wingate feels therefore. This is kind of the same concept as the however. There's nothing that came before it that would warrant the needing of this conjunctive adverb, therefore. So we're going to cross that one out. Wingate feels likewise. Well, this implies that there's someone else that has the same feeling as Wingate, and that was not mentioned in the text. That leaves us with choice D, meaning there is not going to be a word. Wingate feels that there is no sound more beautiful than the haunting cries of the cahao. Number 11, choice D is correct because you do not need a word after feels. Okay, the last question that we're looking at is question number 12, And question number 12 is asking us to think about a commonly confused word, which is there, and there. And then also it kind of threw in this other one, the its and its. Okay, so what I want to do is go over and read the sentence that has number 12 in it. In 2009, 86 nesting pairs on Nonsuch Island produced dozens of healthy chicks that left their burrows to fly out to sea. Okay, this is what I'm looking at. Now, in the place of the there, they have it spelled THEY', which stands for they are. So anytime you have the apostrophe RE, I want you to read it out, taking the contraction out and saying both words and see if it works. In 2009, 86 nesting pairs on Nonsuch Island produced dozens of healthy chicks that left they are burrows to fly out to sea. Well, as you can see, they are does not fit in the sentence, so we have to change it. That makes A incorrect. All right, choice B is there. Now remember, there is a place over there. This is really hard to write with this, but there is a place. THEIR, there, is ownership. And the way that I learned to remember this when I was young is that EIO, the farmer owns the farm. So you're looking for ownership there. And the difference between its and there is this its stands for it is, because it has the apostrophe. So if it is wouldn't fit in the sentence, this wouldn't belong. And since they are didn't fit, we know this probably isn't going to fit. So I'm going to cross that one off and decide if in this spot I'm talking about a place or I'm talking about ownership. Okay, chicks that left their burrows. Now, in this context, the place is not there. What's happening here is that these chicks own their burrows, just like the farmer owns his farm, EI. So therefore, that makes C the correct answer. It is showing ownership of a group of chicks. And that concludes our look at the English ACT Aspire Grade 8 exam.